Welcome to Framework Fortune and welcome back Framework Fortune community. I'm your host Ben and it's time for your Monday through Friday daily episode of The Last Rip, where we take a look at top NASDAQ and NYSE gainers, especially the low floats, and recap any trades that I took on the day. So time is our biggest asset. Let's not waste any more of it and dive into the S&P 500. So the downtrend is continuing from yesterday when the S&P, the SPY, started dropping off and is continuing to go down. It reached a low of 432 today. Did bounce back a little bit right before market close, but it's coming right back down again. Until the price gets back over this downtrend line, we are going to continue to go down. Looking at it on the daily chart, we've corrected below this 10 moving average here, 10-day moving average, and it's trying to hold up still, but we've got a ways to drop back down to 423 to this 50-day moving average. And this is a pretty ugly curl, but we've continually seen this over and over again where it looks like the market might start dropping, but until this 50-day moving average actually cracks, we're not going to have that big of a pullback. It could happen this time, it might not. On to the trades today that I took, and I took a few. Something I realized today looking at this first stock, VERB, I didn't have my 200-day moving average on the intraday chart. When I was using this strategy, I still had the 200-day on there. So we're going to add the 200-day back to this chart and see if it would have saved me some losses or not. We'll see if it's relevant to these 5-minute intraday trades. So the video is coming of how to set everything up like this. But just for a quick little lesson, I'll show you guys how I'm going to add it. So you click this Studies button up here, you go to Edit Studies, and in this box under Studies, if you want a moving average, you can just type in moving average and you'll get multiple different things. But if you want the exponential, you have to put in EXP, and then you'll get the moving exponential. So then you click on it. And we want this to be a 200, so all you do is just change the length, and then we want it to be red. That's what I like my colors to be. You can put your colors however you want, but personally I use the red. So looking at VERB, and a lot of plays broke down today and couldn't continue to run, but VERB did. I got in VERB there. You can see 306 and 321. It started popping up to 323, but then I had a stop loss in right at 298, and you can see it came down right to 298. It actually came to 297, but my stop loss was a penny off, and so it stopped me out. And then of course it ran all the way up to $4 by the end of the day. So that's one of the reasons why I don't use stop losses that much, because most of the time this happens. Now if you're a new trader and this happens to you, I know you want to grab the cat and throw it out the window, but it will continue to happen to you for the rest of your trading career, so get used to it. It's not going to happen every time, but it will happen. It's annoying when it does, but you just got to move on. So VERB was the one that had announced the partnership with Shop Live yesterday, and I was talking about keeping it on watch because of that, and it did have that nice explosion. But the 200-day with the strategy, you can see the 200-day held up, and actually you could have got a nice little bounce play off of the 200 on this play. So I don't think the 200 mattered here because the 200 was where it was supposed to be. So the next trade I took was SGOC, and this one definitely I could have avoided. Looking at it now with the 200-day moving average on it, it was below the 200. This strategy does not take trades under the 200 moving average. So this was a bad trade. I didn't have it on, so I didn't see it. But you can see I was stopped out there pretty quick as this continued to crash. I was looking for a bounce off of this $12 area, but because that 200 wasn't on there, I didn't see that we were bearish, because once the stock price is below the 200, you're pretty bearish. And as you can see, usually it doesn't get back over it that same day. So that could have been avoided. Shouldn't even took that trade. AACG, now this was an interesting one. And you can see I traded AACG quite a bit. They didn't have any news, but it shot up out the gate, and we got a crossover there, but I wasn't trading yet, so I missed that crossover. That would have been the number one entry, but I waited for it to pull back. Then it pulled back to the purple moving average, the purple line there. So I kept getting in there, looking for it to continue to climb, and it did climb up to this 480 area. But I got in here on these two buys and then got stopped out at 387 when this little candle dipped. So I gave it a second to try to come back up, and it did come back up, so I jumped back in there again. If you look very closely where I took these entries at on the chart here, you can see that the 10-day moving average, the green line, had crossed to the downside. Even though we're moving up, it had crossed below the purple line, and that we know that is an exit. So even though it did pop up there, it never could cross and just had a sell-off. Ended up selling the rest of the day. So these buys right here, I should have never even took, even though it would have been profitable. The buy place I was in was good, but my stop loss was too tight, and it stopped me out. You see my stop loss was at 387, and it came right down just to 387. Stopped me out right before the rest of that rip. AACG did have a big rip in after hours, but has since sold off. It could be one to keep on watch as it is bullish above all the EMAs now. YVR was another trade I took, and this trade I just shouldn't have took. I was looking for the breakout of the tops of this previous high at 263. So I got in there at 259, but 259 is right up here. I mean, I bought at the top. You never want to buy at the top. I should have bought down here on the line, at least at 240. That would have gave me a little wiggle room. But it couldn't break up out. It just made a new high at like 268 or something, and then turned back around, and of course you see the crossover, and it sold off the rest of the day. So bad trade. Lesson from this trade: don't buy at highs. Don't buy at resistance at highs like this after a stock has already ran up. And that was the only trades I took today, just on those 4 stocks. There wasn't a whole lot going on this morning. You can see YVR was the top NASDAQ gainer. Like I said, we can continue to keep that on watch for possible move up. Now it's above all the EMAs on the daily. MSN up 18%. It is above all EMAs now. It is looking kind of bullish on the chart, so we can keep this one on watch. We'll throw that one up there. About 21 million in float. Pretty low float. American Realty Investors. So this is a REIT, maybe? I'm not sure. It sounds like a REIT, but it did get a nice move. This wasn't even on my radar. When did that start popping? That started popping. Yeah, it started popping a little bit before I ended the stream, but made a nice move from 11 all the way up to 20. Looks like maybe it was on. No, there wasn't any news on it. But that is another one we could possibly keep on watch. It did get a very nice move, and it is above all the EMAs. Had a big pullback today, too. Sold off a lot of its gains, but did close right at this area where these two peaks hit around 14. So break of 14, you're going to have to break 15 too to see it move. 15 is always a strong resistance line, so I'd say break of 15 tomorrow. We could see this move back to 20 possibly. So I did get a request to cover ATOS, so I'm going to cover that one real quick. I covered it some in the live stream, but not a whole lot. So I decided I'd cover it a little bit more. And if you have a stock that you would like me to take a look at right away for the last drip episodes, the daily episodes, leave it in the comments below of this video, and I will throw it on the list to take a look at. If you want a stock review where I do the full video review of a company and their numbers and all of that, say, hey, here's the ticker symbol, I would like a stock review of this company. But ATOS has been climbing nicely. This looks back since May, it looks like. Climbed all the way from $1.44 up to $9.80. At the moment, though, we have a head and shoulders pattern. So this is a shoulder, this is a shoulder, and then the highest peak in the middle is the head. And that usually leads to a sell-off, which looks like it started to happen. So more than likely, ATOS is going to come back down to this $4 area, probably where that line of support is. Maybe it could bounce off the 50-day because it's bounced off there once or twice, but more than likely it would be a sell-off. So that's it for all the stocks I'm going to cover today. Because the market is looking kind of rough, like we may be getting at least a small correction, a lot of these stocks could lose all their momentum. Don't be surprised if we see that. And tomorrow being Friday, now I've been wrong about this on a couple of Fridays. I always expect a sell-off on Fridays because the weekend, The market's closed for 2 days. As sketchy as the market is, I would really expect that sell-off to continue tomorrow, but I could be wrong. Who knows? So if you're day trading tomorrow in the morning, because it's Friday, because we're having some sketchy SPY movements, be very, very cautious with your trading. And if you join me in the live stream tomorrow morning and you see that I'm starting to get too gung-ho and the market's going down, reel me in if you don't mind. Appreciate everybody joining me as always. Stay safe out there. Until next time.